Good morning.
Hi, Miss Lewis, we're hearing you. Thanks.
Okay. Hi. Good morning. All right. So I am Shanti Lewis. I don't think I need any more introduction after that introduction. I'm going to just share a short presentation with you on the scholarship process, because I think it's important that you know what the process is, and then we move into the expectations in terms of essay questions and our interviews. All right. So what I'll ask you to do, if there are any questions for me, is to just make note of them, and I will answer as best as possible at the end of the presentation. All right, so this is my first year as the project manager for the JWN Foundation Scholarship Awards program. However, I've been a part of the process, so that would have given me some experience in, knowing what we want or expect from you. All right, so just a little overview. The JWN Foundation is Jerry and Nephew Limited's vehicle for giving back to the wider society. So Jerry and Nephew Limited operates in 3 parishes. So we have Kingston, Spanish Town Road, most popularly, New Yarmouth in Clarendon, and Appleton Estate in St. Elizabeth. All right, so the foundation not only disperses scholarships, but there are a lot of other activities that we participate in. However, the guiding principle for the scholarship is to positively impact the communities in which we operate, by providing financial aid to secondary and tertiary students who are looking to further their education, and also to instill a philanthropic mindset in our scholarship recipients and create opportunities for them to contribute to their communities through volunteerism. So in addition to the scholarships, what we do is we have career readiness workshops. We go back into the schools as well and assist the teachers in terms of with the resources so that they can better assist you, the students. All right, so the eligibility requirements, I'll just skip to the tertiary students. Sorry, was someone saying something? All right, so I'll move on. So the eligibility requirements for tertiary students, the applicants must reside in one of the named communities within Kingston, Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, where we operate, as I would have mentioned. So I'm going to share a list of communities, but please do not let it hinder you from applying. If you are from any community in and around or operations, I would still, and you're not seeing them listed here, I would still encourage you to apply once you fit the requirements, other requirements. You will need to share a reference letter from an MP, JP, principal, etc. You will be provided with an essay question once the scholarship program is open. So that would be you would need to complete that. Statement of financial need form, you will also receive that, and you will need to complete 72 volunteer hours per year. So the returning students would need to complete this. And if you're awarded a scholarship, then the following year, as a requirement, you need to complete the hours. Maintain a 3.0 GPA or a B+ average or higher, and you need a recommendation letter from an academic advisor or professor. All right, so as I promised, here are the communities in which we look for our applicants. And again, as I mentioned, do not let it hinder you. All right, so we have 3 different awards categories: secondary, tertiary, special tertiary. So our tertiary students, for the purpose of this presentation, would receive $200,000, and our special tertiary, it differs. Master Blend and Humanities, I believe, is $450,000, and our Joyce Penn STEM bursary is $200,000. All right, so this year our scholarship will open on the 11th of June, and we will close on the 7th of July. This is how you apply. you can do so via our website, www.jwnfoundation.org. There's a scholarships tab, and it's pretty easy, I would say. Click on that and you'll choose your category, which is the scholarship that applies to you, which would be the tertiary scholarships. Please read the requirements again and confirm that you're eligible, and then you'd be required to upload all documents. So it's right there on the website for you. And if you have any questions at all, you can definitely reach out to us at this email address, jwnfcommunityscholarships@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at JWN Corporate and on Facebook at J, Ray and Nephew. And you must be 18 years or older to follow. All right. So I am going to, let's go back. Stop sharing my screen.
We weren't seeing the screen.
Oh, I had asked if you guys were. Sorry.
Oh, we weren't seeing it. We didn't know you had you were sharing screen. I'm so sorry. We weren't sharing.
I had a whole presentation. All right, let me just pull the information back up
Thanks. If you
for
could
you.
share it again, yes, we'd appreciate it.
Are you seeing it now?
Yes, we're seeing it now.
Okay. All right. And assuming you're still seeing it?
Yes, we're still seeing it, but it hasn't come up in presentation mode as yet.
Okay. All right. Well, please take the information as mentioned. Any questions that you may have regarding scholarships, of course, you may share them. You may send your requests or questions to jwnfcommunityscholarships@gmail.com. And again, you may follow us on Instagram at JWN Corporate and on Facebook at J and Nephew. Would prefer if you send your request via email. It's easier to find there as opposed to sending a direct message on Instagram. That can get lost with everything else that persons are reaching out to us for. All right, so I'm going to come back now. All right, so as I mentioned, just a small presentation on the applications process with regards to interviews and essay questions. So once you are selected, we'll invite you to attend an interview session. All right, so we vet your essays and followed by the shortlisting interviews, and then with the panel or panelists. So we have quite a few panelists from a broad spectrum. So we have a representative from the Ministry of Education. We have a union representative that supports J and Nephew. We'll have someone there. We'll have, of course, the representatives from J and Nephew Limited at that panel interview. All right, so for the interviews, one thing I would say is research. Please do your research. So a lot of times we ask, what do you know about the JWN Foundation? And our recipients aren't quite sure, what we do. As with anything else, I would say, if you're going to apply for a job and you have been successful and they've invited you for an interview, you need to do some research. So it's the same process. So treat it like a job interview because it's very important. I know that the tuition for some persons, the scholarship may not cover all of your tuition. However, it does assist, and over time, and it goes a long way. So treat it as an interview. You want this job. You need this job. So you're gonna do the research, the necessary research to know, what does the JWN Foundation do? Why does it want to give somebody like me a scholarship? So we will ask you that question as well. Why do you need a scholarship? You know, what can you offer to the foundation? Because you're not just a recipient of the scholarship, but then you become a part of the foundation because you represent us. So we would like to know, all right, how can you give back to not just the foundation, but the wider community, your community, or Jamaica by large? So you have to think about those things as well. When you come to the interview, please be confident. I can understand that you are interviewing for a job, right? As I mentioned before. But again, it is important to know that, or to tell yourself that this is for me, and the only person that can not get it or can stop me from getting it is me, right? So when you go into that interview, you speak confidently. They might ask you to tell me about myself. So as I said before, regular interview questions. Tell me about yourself. What have you been doing in your community that sets you apart from somebody else who we are gonna interview? Because trust me, we have a lot of students who come in very strong. So you have to come and sell your case. And if it is that you have any experience in your community, your church, you volunteered before as a first-time applicant, that is also very good. So please don't be afraid to state that I have, been a part of the community church and we cook on a Sunday or a Saturday and we walk around or whatever it is. But sell yourself, basically. Make sure you make note of everything that you've done academically, through volunteerism, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to share. Your attire. This is, by the way, this is in no way, shape, or form in order of importance, but your attire is very important. So we have been doing, since COVID, we've been doing virtual interviews. And a mistake I realize a lot of people make is that they don't realize it's an interview, or they seem to believe because it's online, they don't need to dress up. They don't need to play the part or look the part, actually. So it's very important. Dress up appropriately. We'll only see your top half, if so much, because you're basically just seeing my face. But let the panelists see that you've put some thought into this and that you're serious about this. So that is one of the very important things I would say as well. For me, I would love to see recipients that, are themselves. I think that helps as well with your confidence. If you come in and you say, all right, I'm Shantae Lewis and I've done this, I've done that, and exude that confidence. Again, it ties back into the confidence. If you exude that confidence, trust me, our panelists it's nothing to be afraid of. All right. And again, it's questions that we won't ask you anything that you don't know. The only thing I'd say is research again. And by then you would know enough about the foundation and the work that we've done in our communities. Again, it's not just scholarships. So when you're asked, what does the foundation do? It's not just scholarships. Take some time to go to Google, go to our website, and you'll see all the information there. So regarding essay questions, so I would not be able to share the essay questions with you right now until the applications are open on the 11th of June. However, I'd say the questions again, we have a teacher panel that will mark those essay questions. They will tell us or let us know, formulate that essay question for us, and then of course you'll get that. But last year, I believe one of the questions was, if you were prime minister, you know, what change would you effect? And I think there's something else. We had another question about your choice of study and what contributions you'd be making to Jamaica, right? So again, it's all about research. And again, this is something that you are training to become a medical physicist, a medical doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, a teacher, right? That work that you put in that paper, convince us, let us know that this is exactly what I want to do, and this is why I am doing it. You'd be surprised that you have a lot of applicants who we've asked them, all right, how, you know, tell us more about what you're doing, and they're unable to articulate that to us. So again, do your research, you know what you're doing, sell it to us, and tell us why we need to choose you as one of our scholarship recipients. All right, so I'm opening the floor. If there are any questions, you can please let me know.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for being here and for your presentation. My question, can you hear me by the way?
I can.
Right, my question is whether the scholarship is available to part-time students also.
Let me check on that. I believe you have to be full-time. Well, let me check that for you. What you could do is share your contacts with me. I did send a direct message in the chat, and I'll reach out to confirm that with you.
Sure.
So there's a question in the chat, Ms. Lewis. Someone is asking if the scholarship is available for open campus students.
All right. Can you give me some background open campus?
So that's actually, so the open campus is one of the campuses that's associated with UWI in general.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so instead of applying to MONA, the open campus is like another branch of sorts for UWI.
But you are doing, for example, you're doing a bachelor's degree, right?
All right, yes, the person will still be doing a degree, would just be for another campus, the same way that we would have the Western Jamaica campus, for example.
Okay.
Right, so it's the degree that matters and not the campus.
That's correct. So it doesn't
matter.
Remember that our scholarship recipients are from all over Jamaica. Well, 3 parishes within Jamaica. It doesn't matter the school. So we're not looking at the school. We're just looking at if you're coming out of one of these parishes, one of these communities, and you are doing a bachelor's degree, or you're at tertiary level.
Okay, right. So the person further clarified to say that it is the online component of the UWI, but you're saying that that doesn't matter. What matters is what they are going to pursue.
Correct. And and again, the other requirement that I had shared before.
Right. Okay, got it. So there's another question asking if scholarships for postgraduate students are available.
No.
No. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Lewis. Are there any other questions? Give everyone a minute. And also for the persons who did ask questions, do you feel like your questions have been answered sufficiently?
Well, I've gone ahead to share my email address with regards to the scholarship being available to part-time students.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. All right, so
I'm seeing for Miss Foster and Miss Foster and Amika Livingston. Those 2 persons?
Yes.
Okay. And it's about part-time. Okay, great, no problem. And as I mentioned, I you can reach out to us if anything else comes up, any other questions that you have. I will repeat the email address. It's jwnsf communityscholarship@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lewis, for sharing with us today. I'm sure that we thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. And just to remind everyone of some of the key takeaways from our presentation, remember to do your research before your interviews, know the organizations that you're going in front of, be confident, ensure that your attire is up to par. And as for the questions that you can expect for the essays, those will be released in due time. Don't forget to reach out to Ms. Lewis and to Jerry and Neville in general through their different social media and their email that was shared. I'm going to repeat it. It's info@jwncorporate@gmail.com. Ms. Lewis, you can let me know if that's correct.
No, that's incorrect. So it's
Could you repeat the email?
Community Scholarship
JWNS Community Scholarship
@gmail.com.
@gmail.com. Thank you. And could you repeat your social media handle first, please?
So on Instagram, it's JWN Corporate. And on Facebook, it's J Ray and Nephew. I believe I'm
Okay, awesome.
in,
Yes, we're seeing it.
so it's there.
So anyone who missed the contact information, you can just go ahead and grab it now. Thank you, Ms. Lois, so much for your presentation.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and so we move ahead now to our second speaker, who is Miss Crystal Gail Williams. Ms. Williams is the project officer for the Grace Kennedy Foundation. She joined the foundation in 2014 as an intern on Grace Kennedy Limited internship program for university graduates. And she has a Bachelor of Science in International Relations and Criminology from the University of the West Indies. She is also a certified project management professional. Please make her feel welcome, Ms. Williams.
Hi, good morning, everyone. How are you all doing today?
I'm feeling great. I'm hoping that everyone is also feeling good and ready for the presentation.
Sure. Can I go ahead and do I have access? Okay, I can share. Okay. Okay, so today I'll be speaking to you about Grace Kennedy Foundation scholarships. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so Grace Kennedy Foundation has over 80 scholarships that are offered annually, and these are in the form of name and endowed scholarships, merit scholarships, and final year scholarships. So some of the scholarships that we have the Grace Kennedy Jamaica Scholarship. We have the Grace Kennedy Jamaica Scholarship. And hold on, I need to move this out of the way. The Grace Kennedy Jamaica Scholarship, and that is valued at $550,000. That scholarship is for persons who are entering university come September. So those would be persons in sixth form. So if you know anybody that would qualify, you can tell them to go ahead and look out for that scholarship. We have the Douglas Orange Scholarship for persons studying STEM, and that is $500,000, and the Raphael Diaz Scholarship for persons in social sciences, and that's also for $500,000. Then we have the Bruce Rickard Scholarship for Kingston College past students, and that is valued at $500,000 as well. And the Carlton Alexander Scholarship for Jamaica College past students. Okay, so for final year scholarships, there is the JIEE Scholarship to students studying STEM, and it is for $500,000 for the final year. And we also have a final year scholarship for students studying at any of the faculty. So you could be studying medicine or law or dentistry, doesn't matter. We still give you a final year scholarship, and it's valued at $100,000 and up. And we also have the Digital Institute Scholarship. I'm not sure if a lot of you are aware of it, but it is a new scholarship. It was instituted last year. It's valued as $200,000 for persons entering their final year at UWI in September. We just closed out the application period and did the interviews. So you can look up for it for next year. So the scholarship is unique in that not do students get a scholarship, but they also get the opportunity to intern at Grace Kennedy's Digital Institute, and for the summer and going into the school period as well, and with the possibility of having your internship extended to full-time employee at Grace Kennedy. So, and this is for persons who are studying digital related courses. So our merit and final year scholarships, who qualify? So shortlisted candidates. So once you're shortlisted for one of our named scholarships, depending on how you do in the interview, there are some cases where you qualify for a merit scholarship based on your need and your academic performance. So strong applicants who are not shortlisted, but also have proven need, we also consider them for merit scholarships as well. And for final year scholarships, final year for the final year scholarship was at $100,000. But as I mentioned before, if you're in any degree program, you qualify. So it doesn't matter what you're studying. You can qualify once you have the academic performance of a 3.0 GPA and above, and you submit all your application requirements. So what we don't fund. So we do not fund medicine, nursing, or dentistry, and we do not fund law. We do not fund engineering unless there is proof provided that the balance will be paid. So the exception is for the Bruce Rickers and the Carlton Alexander Scholarship. So if persons are on the government-sponsored medicine program, we will fund their tuition, but you have to have proof of this as well. So what we ask persons to submit is a financial aid declaration form with their scholarship application to prove how you're going to pay the remaining balance based on what the scholarship covers. So how do students apply? And I'm going to drop the link in the chat after the presentation ends. So applications are currently open and all applications are submitted online. So the application closes June 30th, and you must have a minimum of 3.0 GPA to be renewed. So our scholarships are not a one-time scholarship, with the exception of the final year scholarships. So once you have once your GPA is 3.0 or above, and you complete your volunteer hours, your 40 volunteer hours for the year, then you will have your scholarship renewed. And as part of the scholarship program, you do become a member of our GK Campus Connect program. So our general terms and conditions. So you must be a Jamaican citizen, whether that is by birth or naturalization, 23 years old and under. You have to be a full-time student, and you are required to get a reference from a tutor or a lecturer at the university. And I have to stress this because so for the reference on the platform that we are currently using, you're required to submit, you're required to send a link to your referee for them to fill out the reference so that you can submit your application form. So if you are interested in applying for any of our scholarships, I'm sure you know, start getting your reference in early so that you can finish your application before the deadline. So you will need to submit certified CSEC, CAPE, and university grades, and you will need your birth certificate as well as an essay. You will have an essay prompt within the application form. And there is also volunteer service requirement in that we do look for persons who are involved, whether it be at school, within their community, church, etc. So we do have that component where we ask about your any extracurricular or community involvement. Okay, so as part of the scholarship, as I mentioned, you become part of the GK Campus Connect program. So the GK Campus Connect program was really founded in 2020, and it really is to deepen the connection and the relationship between our Grace Kennedy scholars and the Grace Kennedy. So our Grace Kennedy scholars become a part of the Grace Kennedy family. We have a talent grid with them. So whenever Grace Kennedy has any internships, any summer employment, or even temporary employment within the group, they come to us first for us to see if any of our scholars qualify. And these have in many cases extended into full-time employment after the person leaves university. Also, once our scholars are exiting university, we try to get them placed within the company based on their career interest. And that has continued. We have a Carlton Alexander scholar who graduated in 2021. He's currently a senior treasury analyst with the Grace Kennedy. So we are definitely committed to making those linkages and investing in our scholars. As part of our scholarship program, we do ask the scholars to do volunteer hours through our GK Campus Connect Food Bank, which serves university students attending UWI, UTech, and Edamale. So our scholars will volunteer their packaging the grocery packages, as well as to issue the packages to the beneficiaries. And our Ace with Grace program, which is run by our scholars, and it's a tutoring service which helps children of Grace Kennedy staff and serves the beneficiaries of our Grace and Staff Homework Centers. So scholarship application form, I'm going to play a short video. Okay, so that's the new scholarship application platform that I've been using as of this year. So it's very straightforward, very user-friendly. But if you ever have any questions, you can feel free to reach out. So what do we ask all of you students to do? Prepare. So I want you guys to go to the platform if you're interested, research all the scholarships that you qualify for from early. Don't wait until June 15th or June 20th before you start looking, because as I mentioned before, you are going to need documents like your reference, you're going to need your birth certificate, your CSEC certificates, your transcript, and it can be an unofficial transcript, but you still need to get those documents in early. So I would advise you to start looking at them now, see what scholarships you qualify for, look on the terms and conditions, check out the required documents, gather all of those from early, because the thing with the application form platform now is that you can start filling out the information, save your progress, and go back to it and submit whenever you have everything ready. So just ensure that you gather all those documents and make sure that they're accurate. Be aware of the deadline. As I said, it's June 30th. Don't wait for the last minute to apply. So don't wait until June 30th you're applying and you're sending your referee a link for them to fill out the reference on June 30th, because they might not. And then you cannot submit your application without the reference. So you need to ensure that you get your documents in early. I know school is on break now, so you have some time. Don't wait until last minute. All right. So what are we looking for? So we're looking for clean, organized applications. So all of your documents are submitted on time, rounded individual, possessing leadership qualities and appropriate email and phone etiquette. So as I mentioned before, you can't submit application without your documents being submitted. But there will be people who are waiting until June 30th to apply. And then they might not have all their documents submitted, like the reference, for instance. So they're asking for, some leeway, calling at 10 p.m. or 4 p.m. on June 30th and, begging. We're not looking for those persons. We want persons to apply from early, right? So this is a little insight of appropriate email and phone etiquette. So once the scholarship period is finished, when we're, shortlisted, we do a pre-shortlist, which because we have so many applicants that apply and they're all so great and so exceptional, and it makes the decision really hard. So what we try to do is before we shortlist for interviews, we do a pre-shortlisting where we might call somebody who we really like because of their grades, their leadership abilities, etc. And, just feel them out to see, how they are. And based on the email or phone pre-interview, we will determine, if that person is, if that person should move on to the shortlist process. So my advice to you is when I answer my phone, I always say good afternoon or good morning, etc. Even if it's my work phone, I always say good afternoon, even if I don't know who is calling, because you never know who is calling. You just answer the phone, hello, hi, or who it is, just say good afternoon. I know everybody is kind of skeptical when you're answering the phone and you don't know who is calling, but phone etiquette and email etiquette really goes a long way. Make sure that your email address is appropriate. So if you need to create a new email address for scholarship applications, go ahead and do so. Don't let it be, one of those where people are wondering who is really this person. Because it says a lot, especially in the day and age of technology. Persons are always trying to figure out what is in a name, or well, not what's in a name, what's in an email, or who is this person behind the email. So as they always say, first impressions last. So try to make that last, make that count. Okay, so profile of a top of our candidates. So I do not want these to, make you guys feel scared. As I said, our scholarships, we are looking for persons who are top of the class. They should be getting 1s and 2s in CSEC and CAPE, excellent recommendation, strong leadership and social conscience, passion for learning and field of interest. So I mentioned these because we are looking for well-rounded students. So it's not just students who have academic performance, strong academic performance. A good recommendation can make or break you. So that's something that you should make note of. Make note of who you ask for recommendation. And strong leadership, you have leadership qualities, and you've taken up leadership roles in different ways, whether it be at school or at church or within your community, etc. We also want to see persons who have applied for student loan, because there are times, depending on what you're studying, you won't be able to cover everything. And so that is something that we do look for. So I do not want you to just look on the academic side to say that you're top of the class, because what if your CSEC grades might not be the strongest? Like you probably have some 2s, but then your university transcript has a high GPA. So don't let it be too daunting for you, but just make sure that you can check off some of these boxes. All right. So this is this is our Grace Kennedy Jamaica Scholar. She won the scholarship last year. I'm just showing a snapshot of her achievements. So yes, she's deputy head girl of Campion College, 5th in the Caribbean for CSEC Geography, 9th in the Caribbean for CSEC French, 7th in the Caribbean for CAPE Unit 1 Spanish, multiple national placements for CSEC and CAPE. She is a first-year student, so yes, and she was the winner. We do have merit scholars who, have similar profiles. So that is my advice to you, is just to make sure that you sell yourself in whatever way. you know, we do on the application form, it does have distinctions that you've gained as well, that you are free to list, and your leadership qualities. And those are things that we will look for and take into account, and not just the academics. The scholarships are merit-based, but we do look for financial need as well. It's just that it just works out in the way where the ones who are academically strong are also those in financial need. And that is the end of my presentation. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Yes, I see a question in the chat from Chelsea Buchanan asking if she can apply for more than one scholarship, and if so, can she use the same essay for both and the same reference for both?
Okay, so you can apply for more than one. You can apply for as many scholarships as you qualify for. There is no limit. As long as you qualify, you can apply. You can use the same essay and the reference for both, but I think, for instance, the Douglas Arraign Scholarship, the reference is a different prompt than for the other scholarships. So it all depends. You know, it depends. But yes, you can use the same reference. You can use the same essay. Hopefully next year we can have the forms integrated where persons will just need to fill out one. We're still learning. We just went on this platform. You can just fill out one form, and it populates all the different scholarships that they qualify for.
All right, thank you. There's another question. Someone is saying rather that they have 2 CXC certificates, and on the portal you can only upload one. How do they go about uploading?
Zip your files, turn them into a PDF document, and upload them. There are softwares online that allow you to zip to merge PDFs. There's PDF Creator. You can use that. You can download it on your laptop or your desktop and use it. You can also zip your files. So that would be my suggestion to you. Use technology, guys.
Indeed, indeed. So there's another question. Someone is asking, which GPA do you look at for renewing scholarship?
So you must have at least a 3.0 GPA or above. So we're not going to kick you off if you don't have a 3.0 GPA, but I mean, we will in circumstances. I mean, you'll be on probation. That we're not going to kick you off as you immediately get a GPA under 3.0, but we do want you to strive for excellence as much as possible. And what the relationship that we have with our scholars, if they are facing difficulties during the semester, they will always reach out and let us know, and we work with them to see how best we can, you know, alleviate anything that they're going through. Maybe it's stress. We can, you know, afford to give them a little extra cushioning wherever, you know, so yeah. I didn't hear clearly. The minimum GPA is 3.0 to be renewed. 3.0, yes, not 2. To be renewed, 3.0. So for our scholarships, to be considered, the minimum is 3.0 as well for you to apply. Of course, as you can imagine, persons with a higher GPA will, depending on their other qualities, might get an edge. Is a Rafael Diaz scholarship specifically for students in business department? So it is for students. So we do for social sciences, for most of the majors in social sciences. So for management studies, I need to double check, but I don't think we do. So let me just bring up the terms and conditions for it. Terms. All right, I'm going to bring up the terms and then I can tell you for that later. For the education background, where we are to list our previous institutions, are you looking for secondary schools only? Yes, just secondary schools is fine. That's fine. Okay, so the following majors for Rafael Diaz will not be considered. Psychology, sociology, and social work. So for all the other majors, so political science, international relations, all the other majors will be considered. So it's just psychology, sociology, and social work that will not be considered for the Rafael Diaz scholarship. Will I be considered if I'm above the age requirement? No, you will not. You have to be no postgrad. We only do undergraduate scholarships. No, you have to be 23 years and younger to qualify for the scholarship. Should I bother still applying since I'm a part-time student? We don't do scholarships of part-time students, unfortunately. For the education background, are you looking for high school? Oh, I think I answered that already.
Right. Would you be able to tell us or expand on us rather on any other benefits that you guys offer or financial aid?
So you mean for students? So we
Yes,
only
for
offer
students.
scholarships. We only offer
Only
scholarships.
other scholarships.
And then we have our food bank, which is for persons attending UWI as well. But that you have to go through the Office of Student Financing for and not directly through us. But it's our scholarships are just, so we have a grant program, but that is not scholarship based. It's only for institutions applying for assistance. So I know that sometimes people mix up grants and scholarships, but it's just scholarships for us. And as I mentioned before, you can qualify for a merit scholarship, even if you don't get the actual scholarship. And our merit scholarships it can be used for tuition, boarding, etc. So yeah, it all depends on what your need is.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation, Ms. Williams. I'm sure we all thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you for taking the time to answer all the questions that were asked.
You're
we do
welcome.
hope you have a good day. And just to reiterate some of what Ms. Williams said, guys, they have a plethora of scholarships available. So we're urging everyone to do your research on the different scholarships. I see she also left her email, which means that you can send inquiries. Be sure to check their website and their social media pages. I'm sure you guys heard of the opportunities to work there afterwards. So that's very interesting. And as she said, research and get your documents early. Thank you so much, Ms. Williams. We do hope
You're
you have a good
welcome.
day.
All right, take care.
Awesome. And so I hope everybody is doing well, still engaged, still focusing. We're going to be heading into our final speaker for the day now, who is actually Mr. David Salmon, a Rhodes Scholar, which I'm sure some of you might have seen in the news. He recently actually brought the Jamaican flag during the coronation that was held in England. So Mr. Salmon, who has been guided by his grandfather's maxim, the word can't does not exist, remove it from your vocabulary, he has sought to take on new frontiers with confidence and determination. When he first stepped through the gates of the UWI Mona, David was a student of the Faculty of Law who just graduated from his alma mater, the Wolmer's Boys School. Little did he know, however, that at the time, law was not his final destination, and less than 2 weeks after starting, he decided to transfer to the Faculty of Social Sciences to pursue a Bachelor's of Science in Public Policy and Management. The decision changed his life, and David has never looked back. Excellence has always been a defining quality for him. He received the coveted UWI Mona Open Scholarship and has represented the University of the West Indies at the Harvard Model UN competition, which was held in Boston in 2022. He is a prolific writer and award-winning journalist who frequently published articles in the Daily Gleaner. He is eager to make his contribution to national development. Since January 2021, he has served as the Regulations and Certification Committee Chairman of the Board of the Early Childhood Commission. In this position, he successfully advocated for the declaration of the Year of Early Childhood Development, which was made by proclamation by Governor General Sir Patrick Allen in January 2022. He started pursuing a Master of Philosophy in Development Studies at the University of Cambridge after receiving the HRH Prince of Wales Scholarship. So let us all make Mr. Salmon welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just checking to see that I am visible, that you can see me.
Yes, we can see you and hear you clearly.
Okay, great. I am very happy to be here. Thank you very much for the invite. And we're just going to get right into it. So I was asked today to share some tips as to what is needed for a successful scholarship application. And from experience, pursuing undergrad to pursue my MPhil here at Cambridge to Oxford, I would have benefited from being on a number of different scholarships. And I find that the first thing that you have to know is do your research. Your research is absolutely important to a successful scholarship interview, to a successful scholarship application. I find that there are several opportunities that might exist, but people are not able to take advantage of it either by the fact that they don't know, or when they look to apply for it, they may not necessarily meet the necessary criteria or conditions. So research is fundamental to the process. This not only means looking at what the scholarship is, but looking at the criteria, looking at the deadline, looking at what documents are required. These are some conditions that are crucial to the process. And from there, once you have identified a prospective scholarship that you are looking to go for, you're aiming for, the next step is positioning yourself to achieve those objectives. So what do I mean by this? So I'll give you an example. For the Rhodes Scholarship, there were 4 main criteria. Excellence to use one's talents to the fullest, truth, courage, devotion to duty, sympathy for and protection for the weak, and moral force of character and instincts to lead, and academic excellence. So academic excellence goes without saying. But then looking at these other criteria, before applying for the scholarship, I was interested in ensuring that I met these criteria in full. So I did activities, for example, writing. So I wrote religiously for the newspaper, the Gleaner, because 1, it was a passion of mine, and 2, by doing this, I can demonstrate energy to use my talent to the fullest. So that's what I mean by positioning yourself is important. Looking at what are the criteria for the scholarship, and then looking at how can your skills, how can your expertise, how can your experience then prepare you for this scholarship? And how can you prepare yourself to go and apply for this scholarship? So researching the opportunities and then positioning yourself. Another thing I would say to you is to start from early. So what sometimes happens is that you may see an opportunity, and if you're early enough, you can prepare. But sometimes you might not necessarily be early, so it becomes a rush to get documents in place or to go and improve the grades or whatever the case is. So I would say start early. Identify what are your needs. So looking at where you want to study in the future, or looking at what you want to study in the future. And from there, work backwards. So if you are interested in, let's say, pursuing a master's in the United Kingdom, and you are a first-year university student, a second-year university student, or even a high school student, you start early and you say, okay, I want to pursue a master's in the United Kingdom. What are the scholarship opportunities that are there that I can go and take advantage of? And you start making a note of all these opportunities, and then you list them. And then you look at criteria that you need to meet. And from looking at the criteria that you need to meet, you go and position yourself accordingly. So starting early allows for you to plan, and you can have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, etc. But it is important that you start that process early. And once you start that process early, you will also be able to take advantage of opportunities that may come along the way, because you know what you're interested in going for or what you're aiming for. And then now, since you know what you're aiming for, you can reposition accordingly. And all of this that I've said to you occurs before you even go into an interview. So you research the opportunities. You look at your positioning yourself. Look at how to position yourself. You start your research process from early, and you have not even gone into an interview. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So pre-interview, I would suggest everyone who's here how to look at the plan is going forward. Ships are concerned. So, done your planning, application, you'll be listed for this. What is the next step? How do you prepare for it? And this can sometimes be daunting because I'm cognizant of the fact that interviews can be a very threatening, very scary experience because you are focused on getting this panel or this individual to be impressed with you that you may, and it's natural to be nervous. Well, what I would say is someone who has several scholarship interviews and also someone who has interviews on panels for interviews. What I'm going to share it from both. So it's been a successful interview for a scholarship. What we're interested in is authenticity. Looking at saying your statement so matches who you are in reality. So I would suggest you when you prepare statements, don't forge any statement. All right, it should be authentically you. Once it is authentically you, and you can demo who you are in this scholarship review, then you are likely to be successful. I'd share that that is sharing being a scholarship. Really, that's from the perspective of the so interviewer now. Interviewers looking at whether the person that I'm investing in or investing these resources in are authentic, whether they meet criteria. So don't be thinking that you're in this scholarship interview. That's if you are a UWI, what do you do? Firstly, if it's a statement, know your statement. Know your statement at the back of your hand, because you find that questions will be based on statements that you write. So say, for instance, that what is your greatest challenge? And I'm sorry, bit of a negative part, not hearing it again. If you your greatest challenge is, let's say, living in a single parent household, and this was particularly challenging because of the absence of resources or whatever the case is, and you write that on your statement, chances are it is going to be asked in an interview. So what sometimes we look at how can we be the best candidate, and we go to the extent of overselling certain circumstances. I would suggest to not do don't do that. Because if you're genuinely deserving of it and you have written a compelling statement so much that you're shortlisted, then at that point in time, it's now is this person and are they authentic? That is absolutely important. Another thing I've oftentimes noticed is that people, you're waiting in an interview and you are interacting with different individuals, if it's a physical in-person interview, and you start to measure your experiences versus other people's experiences. That is a terrible approach to adopt when doing a scholarship interview. How I like to view it is all of you are shortlisted for this scholarship, and if all of you are shortlisted for this scholarship, everyone has an equal opportunity of being selected as a scholarship recipient. They would have shortlisted you because they would have been interested in what you are in comparison to someone else who are shortlisted. You all have unique skill sets to offer them. So then going into that interview, the question now is, how can I authentically bring across what I have to offer? Is really what the scholarship interview is about. So what I would say is, in the interview, know the statements, know who you are, ensure that your statements accurately reflect you. And then from there, you go and represent that in the interview. Not all scholarships have you doing an interview. Some scholarships have you doing a personal statement. So how do you maximize a personal statement? First thing I would say to you is this: do your research on the scholarship, because chances are the scholarship may be named after a founder of a company, or it may be a student who meets certain qualities, or it may be from an organization that has certain core values. Do your research on the scholarship itself, do the research on the organization that is offering it. Look at the history of the scholarship, because that can inform you as to what sort of content they're interested in. So I can give you an example. I sat on a panel of a scholarship, and the scholarship was named after an industrialist in Jamaica. And there were 2 candidates that were shortlisted. There were around 4 or 5 candidates that were shortlisted, but 2 really stood out. And what really separated the individual who was the first preference for the scholarship was that when we asked her, do you know who this scholarship is named after? She said yes, and proceeded to give us an entire rundown, us being the scholarship panel, an entire rundown of who this individual was, their background, their work in the private sector, what they have even written for the newspaper. So naturally, we were very impressed. It so happened that there was someone else who needed the resources. And there was this person who clearly was better interviewee. And in truth and in fact, both of them got the scholarship. And I say that because normally what you would think, okay, but if the person who needs it more, if there's someone who needs it more, then that means that I may not get the scholarship. Not necessarily the case. If you do your research and you're able to demonstrate that you know this scholarship, and this is not something scripted here, so don't go in with a script, but just go in with the knowledge of the scholarship and why you're applying for the scholarship, who this scholarship is, or what is the scholarship about, which companies do it, what are their values, and showing authenticity, you will find that it will be very difficult to justify not giving the scholarship. So we gave it to both, 2 persons that year, just because that there was one person who really needed it, and then there was another person who did very well. So no, even though this is going back into the interviews, your statements are similar. However, unlike an interview, which is you can ask a question, provide feedback, and back and forth, your statements are concise and are meant to get to know the character of who you are. So I would say this: superfluous language or language that is not efficient, drop it. People don't want to see someone who is worthy. People want to see how you meet the criteria of the scholarship that you are applying for. Because the chances are, if it's a big scholarship, you have many people applying for it. So they're not going to go and say, this scholarship statement could be written by a Nobel Prize winner for literature. People are not going to think like that. People are going to think, okay, I have 50 of these to read each day, or 50 of them to go through. All right, when I'm shortlisted, who meets the criteria? All right, my criteria is, let's say for argument's sake, sports, academics, okay? Sports, academics are good candidate, that's it. So you shortlist from there because there's just so many of scholarships to deal with. So be concise, be efficient with your language. Really. Additionally, another thing I would say is people sometimes undervalue their experience. So you may be thinking, oh my, I'm 19, 20, 21. I haven't really been working. I haven't worked because I just came out of high school. I don't know if I have the experience. You have experience, I can assure you. If you do a club in your high school, one club, and you did it well, that's experience. People look at it, it's extracurricular involvement. So if you meet the grades and you have this additional work, that's perfect. You don't need to be, it would be nice to get work experience, but I'm not going to say that work experience is what differentiates those who get a scholarship versus those who do not. Look at what you have. If you volunteer in your community, that's brilliant. There are scholarships that would say that are actually even tailored to people who volunteer in their community. So don't rule out the experience that you have. You do have experience. I'm assured of that. So from there, you have to look at what are the criteria of the scholarship. You do your research, then you do reflection on yourself, because reflection is important. You look at what unique niche area that you're bringing and that you value, and think of what they may value as well. And then once you're authentic, then you shall be fine. So I think it's fair for me. I can wrap up now. Just to go over basically things that we say. First, you research your opportunities, then you position yourself, then you plan ahead. And once you get to the shortlisting process, whether you're being interviewed or you have to write a statement, be authentic, be concise, don't undervalue your experience. And if you can, enjoy the process, because it's also a learning process as well. I did not get the UWI Open Scholarship the first time I applied for it at the end of high school. All right, I got it the second time I had applied for it. So, and that hasn't prevented me from continuing my studies. So if you don't get it, that's fine. You just learn something from it. So I just wrapping up. We're going to open for questions. Once you do these steps, you shall be completely fine and you shall get your scholarship that you're applying for. So I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, David. So does anyone have any questions to pose to David? Someone is asking when is the deadline for application. I'm not sure that question is for you though.
Good morning.
Good morning, someone speaking? Someone's mic is on. Are you posing a question? Okay, I think they muted their mic. So someone is asking when the deadline for application is. I'm not sure if that's for the UWI Mona Open Scholarship, perhaps. I'm going to give that person a minute to follow up on your question, but there's another question. Could you give a quick summary of your presentation?
All right, summary of the presentation. One, research opportunities. Do your research for the scholarship. Don't only look at what the scholarship you're applying for. Look at the criteria of the scholarship. Look at the organization that's offering it. Look at the deadline. Look at previous recipients of the scholarship. So do your research. Next, once you look at the conditions that you know, once you establish what are these criteria, you position yourself accordingly. So you look at, okay, what experience do I need? Do I need to volunteer? Do I need to volunteer? All those things like that. You get that out of the way. What also helps is when you start early. Start the process early. Plan what you want to get done. Plan where you want to study. And after you plan where you want to study, you work backwards and identify opportunities from there. After you have done all of that, all of this takes place before the interview or before you're shortlisted. Once you're shortlisted, be authentic. Be authentic in your responses, be authentic in your interviews. If you're preparing a statement, be concise. Don't give them too much mundane details and overly long sentences and such. People aren't going to sit down and read and comment on how beautiful your writing are. People are interested in, does this person meet the criteria for shortlisting, or does this person meet the criteria for the scholarship? So be concise. Another thing I didn't share earlier, but I can share now, is also speak to people who have received this scholarship before to know what they did, what was successful for them. Don't make it a carbon copy of you. Allow it to provide you perspective, and then once you get that perspective, you provide your own niche. But speaking to previous recipients of the scholarship is helpful. To answer the question, I don't know if UWI still offers the open scholarship now. I know that the open scholarship was paused a few years ago because of COVID and the absence of resources. So I don't think it is currently being offered at this moment.
And the Commuting Students Office has actually shared that you can check the Office of Student Finance's website for more information on whether or not the open scholarship is available now, and if so, when the deadline is. Mr. Jamel Brown has shared that they do still operate, but only to the top matriculants. So you guys can check the Office of Student Financing website for more information on the UWI Open Scholarship. Are there any more questions for Mr. Salmon? All right, not seeing any more questions. Thank you so much for your presentation, Mr. Salmon. I'm also wondering if you could answer my question. Tell us a little bit about what it was like, your recent experience, which I'm sure a lot of us would have seen on the news, attending the coronation recently.
Before I share that experience,
there's a
Sabrina, I see
question
a
in the
question
chat.
here that says, can you kindly assist interested applicants with mock interviews should they be shortlisted? Okay, good question, Gabriel. I honestly wouldn't want to commit to that because I really don't know what my time is going to be looking like in the next few months. To give you an example, it's 6:31 here in the evening for me here in the UK, and I just submitted a dissertation, a 12,000 word dissertation worth 25% of my degree marks. So, and the next few weeks or months is going to be just like this. So I'd love to, but I honestly don't think it would be fair if I could make that commitment and not be able to honor it. What I would say is you could reach out to me on Instagram. I can share my Instagram name here. You could reach out to me on Instagram if you have any questions. I would try as best as possible to respond. If not, you could send me a follow-up message maybe after a week or so, because normally if I don't respond immediately, I would see the follow-up message to know that, okay, I can go back to response. I will share that, but I don't know if I will be able to comment and provide feedback on everyone who may reach out for it. So my Instagram name, I'm just gonna type it here in the chat here. So you can just go and reach out to me there. To answer your question, Sabrina, it was a very good experience, very interesting experience to say the least. Partly because my focus was not dropping the flag throughout the experience, because it's a very heavy object. The pole itself is solid wooden pole with this massive banner behind it, and it was raining on the day. It started to drizzle, and the rain picked up as well before we walked into the Abbey. So it was a really heavy object, and my focus, as much as possible, was trying not to drop it because of how heavy it is. Because when the wind picks up into it, it almost feels like you're going to fly away with this flag. But it was a good experience nonetheless. Met several other persons from the Caribbean, exceptional standard bearers, and the service itself was quite beautiful. I know it's a very controversial topic, given that we are moving on, and it is a position that I have personally supported for years, the idea of becoming a republic. How I view this is that it's a period of history that I'm interested in participating in. And if there are other persons who are interested in the experience, I wrote about it and published it in the Gleaner. So you can look in the Gleaner online to see more about that article about the coronation experience. Yeah, so
All right.
any other questions?
I'm not seeing any in the chat. Does anyone have any other questions for David?
Yep, anything, ask away.
All right, so no questions here, but I'm sure if someone said they are so proud of you. Awesome.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
sure we all share the same sentiment. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. I guess if anyone has any other questions, they can reach out to you on Instagram. I see you shared your IG handle, David Salmon JA. So you guys can reach out to him there. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing your tidbits and your experience. It is very appreciated. And I see that we're getting some more comments on how authentic the presentation was and how much we loved it. Further thumbs up. Actually, someone is stopping us with a question. You can go ahead,
Yes.
Gabrielle.
Okay. In the event that someone gets shortlisted, right, and they're supposed to physically attend an interview, could that be manipulated where the interview is conducted online? Should the person be abroad and not in the country?
That depends. Each scholarship is different. I'm not going to say it goes for all scholarships. For the Rhodes Scholarship, I had to fly back to Jamaica, which was helpful because I had graduation the week before. So I just flew back one time and that was it. So I had to fly back to Jamaica for that scholarship. But other scholarships you might be able to do it online. It really depends. It's a case-by-case basis, which is why I suggest you read up about the scholarship, read about the criteria. If you have questions, reach out to them as well, because I can guarantee you most people are not going to contact them on the scholarship if they have questions. It's always, people sometimes think that so many people are going to be contacting them, and then so many people think that so many people are going to be contacting them. No one contacts people to ask for further questions on it. So I don't know, I can't speak by all scholarships, but you use discretion, case-by-case basis. If you have questions about the scholarship, you need to attend an in-person interview, then ask the questions.
I think that sufficiently answered your question, Gabrielle. Awesome. So she says, thank you. Thank you, David, again for coming and for sharing. We really appreciate it. Do have a good day.
Thank you, and same to you. All the best.
Thank you. All right, guys, so we're winding down now. That was our last presenter for the day, but I'm going to open the floor again to any further questions that you guys have. Generally, after everything that was shared today, if you want to share what you learned today, that would be good as well. And in the meanwhile, while you think about your questions and the feedback that you're going to give, just a few points of information. So the Office of Student Financing wasn't able to join us today, but if you weren't at yesterday's session, you'll be able to watch the recording, the 1-minute video of the person from Office of Student Financing speaking on the Instagram for UWI Commuting students. Just need to ask them to drop the Instagram handle in the chat so that everyone can see it. So you can check the page later on today or possibly tomorrow for the video and hear what the Office of Student Financing has to say, as well as visit their website. Ms. Lewis, who presented earlier from Jerry and Neville, also shared that the persons who were asking about the part-time students, unfortunately, the scholarship won't be available to part-time students, but I'm sure you can check some other scholarships. That's all the info that I have to share. Were there any other questions that anyone has, any feedback? Is a recording available for yesterday's presentation?
Just a point as well. Yes, the recording will be available on the Instagram page tomorrow. We'll upload all the recordings from yesterday and today, as well as all the OSF scholarships are interviews are still being done online. So persons don't have to worry. If you apply for a scholarship through the Office of Student Financing, the interview will be online. OSF also wanted us to know that the UE Open Scholarship will be awarded to the matriculant. So we only have one UE Open Scholarship at this time. Right, so it's just for the matriculant at this point.
And for those of you who are in high school and you're unaware, the top matriculant is the person who enters the university in the upcoming year that has the highest grade.
All right,
In
so
essence.
point from OSF is that the Guild offers part-time scholarship through the Office of Student Financing. So you can definitely apply through OSF for the Guild part-time scholarship.
I see someone has their hand raised. Miss Livingston, do you have a question? You can go ahead.
Good afternoon. I do have a question. I heard some comments just now about part-time scholarships. So I've been on the OSF site, and it's rather difficult to navigate in terms of finding what scholarships are part-time and full-time. And as a part-time student, it's rather discouraging to go on every single scholarship that you see and to be seeing full-time scholarships. It seems as if 99% of the scholarships are strictly for full-time students, when part-time students have a hard time financing their education, which is why we opt for part-time to begin with. Is there a way for the website to be streamlined for us to easily find those part-time scholarships if they do in fact exist? Because from online searchings, and I've gone through, well, I'm not finished as yet, but I've gone through the majority of the listing by faculty, and it's not given there. I cannot find the part-time scholarship, whether it's discriminating via age or just strictly for full-time. I just cannot seem to find the part-time offerings. So is there a way for us to help alleviate that situation for part-time students?
Okay, I take your question. Thank you, Mr. Livingston. So I see that persons in the chat have actually opted to respond and assist you. Someone sent the link for the Guild Part-Time Assistance Grant, which Ms. Larmond was just talking about. It's a scholarship that the Guild offers, or a grant that the Guild offers for part-time students specifically. So perhaps you could check that link out, and any other questions that you have about that's the only one that we're aware of now, at least for through the Office of Student Financing, but I'm sure you could continue doing searches online. I don't know much about part-time scholarships myself, as I am a full-time student, but I have heard about how difficult it is to find scholarships. So perhaps you could actually try reaching out to the Office of Student Financing to also see if they could reference any outside scholarships that are available for part-time students. And I'm really sorry that you have to be going through that. And see, Mr. Finlay gave the same suggestion I did, that you visit OSF and let them know of your unique situation so that they can tell you if there are outside scholarships that they know of for part-time students. Because sometimes companies and other organizations, they communicate directly with the university. So I know that them and possibly even the Office of Student Development, OSSD, or Office of Career and Placement Services might know of part-time student scholarships. So just try to reach out to the offices and see if they can provide you with any other clarity. And I'm wishing you luck on that venture. Awesome. You're most welcome, Ms. Livingston. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to thank everyone for joining us today. Special thanks to the UE Mona Commuting Students Office and their SSDM, Ms. Larmon, who put on this initiative, as well as Mr. Jamel Brown, who has been spearheading it, and all other organizations and parties involved. It was my absolute pleasure hosting for you guys today. I certainly hope that you learned a lot from the session about doing your research and putting together your statements and being well prepared for your interviews. I know how challenging and discouraging at times the scholarship journey can be, having gone through it myself. and you might not always have like persons to speak to about it. I know when I was going for my scholarship, I didn't have anyone to talk to, and it was in COVID time, so felt even further isolated. With that being said, there are persons here who are providing resources. Many persons today left their contact. The Commuting Students Office have made themselves a tool, Mr. Jamel Brown. And I'm going to actually leave my Instagram in the chat. And if any of you want to reach out personally and you're looking for some one-on-one support or advice, I'd be more than willing to help. I do hope that everyone has a good day, and thank you guys for joining us today.